The diner sat at the edge of a quiet highway, its neon sign flickering faintly against the falling evening. Inside, the low hum of chatter mingled with the clinking of plates and the warm smell of coffee. Families laughed softly, truckers hunched over burgers, and an old jukebox played faintly in the corner. It was the kind of place where stories passed quietly, unnoticed by the outside world. Among the hum of voices, a small girl named Emily sat quietly with her mother at a corner booth. Emily was no ordinary child. Her legs had been weakened by a congenital condition that left her bound to braces and reliant on a walker. At only 10 years old, she carried the weight of stares, whispers, and ridicule that most adults would never endure. But her eyes were bright, wide, and endlessly curious about the world. She adored stories, loved pancakes, and dreamed of dancing, even though she had never been able to. Her mother, weary from long shifts at the hospital, leaned across the table, brushing Emily's hair from her face. "One day, sweetheart," she whispered, "people will see more than your walker. They'll see your heart." But not everyone in that diner saw her heart. At the opposite end of the diner, a group of teenagers sat clustered in a booth. They laughed far too loudly, their voices sharp, restless with the energy of youth. It didn't take long before their attention turned toward Emily. One boy nudged another, pointing. "Hey, look at her robot legs," he snickered, his voice carrying across the diner. Another chimed in, mockingly limping across the aisle when he got up to grab napkins, exaggerating his steps. The group erupted into cruel laughter, the sound piercing the warm atmosphere like broken glass. Emily's cheeks flushed red. She bowed her head, staring into her plate, willing herself invisible. Her mother's jaw tightened, but she knew this was not the first time. It had happened in school, at the park, in grocery stores. The cruel sting of mockery always found them. For a moment, the diner fell into an uncomfortable silence. Some patrons glanced at the teenagers with disapproval, but no one said a word. Most chose the easier path, look away, pretend not to notice, let the cruelty pass as if it were harmless. But in the far corner of the diner, by the window where the fading sunlight hit the leather booths, a group of bikers sat. Their jackets bore patches of a brotherhood, their heavy boots scuffed from long roads traveled. To outsiders they looked intimidating, tattooed arms, leather vests, steel chains. The kind of men most avoided, crossing streets to steer clear of. But what most didn't know was that this particular group was bound by something deeper than leather and chrome. They believed in respect, in loyalty, and in protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Their leader, a tall man with a gray beard and piercing eyes named Jack Malone, noticed the scene first. He had once been a soldier, then a drifter, before he found a family in his biker brothers. His gaze lingered on Emily, her small shoulders trembling, her mother's hands tightening around her fork. Jack slowly set down his coffee cup. "Boys," he muttered to his crew, his voice low but firm, "you hear that?" The others nodded, their expressions shifting from casual to serious. One biker, a younger man named Rico, clenched his fists. "Kids or not, mocking a little girl like that, it don't sit right with me." Jack nodded once. "Then we don't sit and watch." They rose as one, the sound of leather creaking and boots hitting the diner floor echoing like thunder. Heads turned as the group moved toward the teenagers' booth, their presence filling the room with a sudden, charged silence. The teenagers froze, their laughter died instantly. One of them stammered nervously, we were just joking." Jack leaned forward, his shadow casting over their table. His voice was calm but carried a weight that silenced the room. "Does it make you feel big, mocking a little girl?" The boys shifted uncomfortably, unable to meet his gaze. "You see her walker," Jack continued. "That walker means she fights every single day, fights harder than you've ever had to. And you think that's funny?" The leader of the teens swallowed hard, his bravado crumbling. Around them, the diner had gone still, every ear tuned to the confrontation. Jack didn't shout, he didn't curse. Instead, he turned his head toward Emily and her mother. "Sweetheart," he said softly, his voice suddenly gentle, "can I tell you something?" Emily lifted her eyes, still wet with tears. She nodded hesitantly. "You are stronger than anyone in this room," Jack said. "Don't let their laughter take that away from you. Every scar, every step you take, it makes you braver than they'll ever be." The girl blinked, her lips trembling, but a faint smile broke through her fear. Jack turned back to the teenagers. "Now you boys got a choice. You walk out of here with your heads low, or you walk out of here with your heads held high, after apologizing like men. Which one's it gonna be? The teens exchanged nervous glances. One finally muttered, We're sorry. But Jack shook his head. Not to me. He pointed toward Emily. The boys hesitated, then stood, shuffling toward her booth. Their voices small now, they mumbled, We're sorry, Emily. Emily's mother watched, her eyes wide, her hand covering her mouth. Jack gave a satisfied nod and motioned for his brothers to sit near Emily's booth. The bikers filled the seats, surrounding her like a shield. They ordered milkshakes for her, joked softly, and treated her as though she were the most important person in the diner. For the first time that evening, Emily laughed, really laughed, and the sound carried warmth back into the room. Patrons who had once stayed silent now smiled. The waitresses exchanged looks, their hearts softened by the scene. The diner, which had moments before echoed with cruelty, now hummed with kindness. Jack leaned back, sipping his coffee again. See, kid, he said to Emily with a wink, the world's always gonna have bullies, but it's also got brothers. And as long as you got people who care, you'll never stand alone. The night carried on, but no one in that diner would ever forget the moment. The bullies left quieter than they had entered. Emily, for the first time in a long while, felt seen, not for her disability, but for her strength. And the bikers, they had reminded everyone that sometimes the roughest-looking people carried the kindest hearts. But the story didn't end there, because what happened next in the days that followed would ripple far beyond that small-town diner, changing lives in ways no one could have predicted.